G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Just remember that you are blessed with incredible friends, or at least I hope you are. And with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by a deleted user, titled, I, 22 female, had sex with my neighbor, 30 male once. Is his current behavior weird, or am I being overdramatic? I made the mistake of having sex with my neighbor. We live in the same building, and I came home from a night out about 2 weeks ago and met him in the hallway. We got to talking, and he invited me back to his place. We had a drink, one thing led to another, and we had sex. I have to admit, the sex was pretty awkward and bad. I'm cringing as I write this, but as we were doing it, he told me he loved me. We had spoken about twice before this night, so I got my first impression maybe he was a bit strange. I was really embarrassed by the whole thing, thought he would be too, and not very maturely decided to just avoid him. I thought he would get the hint that it was just a drunk one-night stand and I wasn't interested. But I kept seeing him all the time. I think he must have worked out what time I leave and get back from work because I started bumping into him way more than I used to. I kept the conversation short and acted uninterested because I thought he would get the hint and back off a little. I guess I was just avoiding that awkward conversation, telling him that I wasn't interested, but in no way was I encouraging him. He persisted, and then a few days ago he added me on Facebook, which I ignored. The next time I saw him, he asked why I hadn't accepted his friend request, so I decided to be a bit more assertive and said something like, "The other night was fun, but I'm really not interested in anything." He was quite upbeat and replied, "Okay, that's cool, but we can still be friends." So I thought maybe I had been a bit immature towards him, and now that I've told him my intentions, we could be friends. I still think he's being a bit over-friendly with me. I'm sure he's waiting to bump into me because I see him like all the time. He's also not shy about asking personal questions, like about ex-boyfriends and stuff. I get that some people are more open about things, but I find it a little weird. On Facebook, he has liked so many of my pictures. I know we all stalk people on Facebook, but he is very obvious about it. He has also messaged a couple of times asking me to hang out. My question is his behavior a bit weird, or am I just being overdramatic? I'm happy to be his friend, but I feel like he is being a bit over the top. I don't want to act like a bitch towards him, but I don't really know how to tell him to tone it down without coming across as one. He's someone that I'll probably keep seeing, so I feel like I have to be nice to him, but he is weirding me out a bit. TLDR, had sex with my neighbor, told him I wasn't interested in anything else, but he is very persistent in being my friend. Not sure if his behavior is a little weird, or if I'm being overdramatic. Honestly, my take on this situation is that he is being very weird, and being very immature in this situation. It's insane that you are so much younger than him, and yet you're the one stepping up to the plate and trying to end things, and he's going about it all the wrong ways. The fact that he told you he loved you when he doesn't even know you is a gigantic red flag. What is that? Run from this man, OP. Get him away from you. In the comments, Let Dude Shadowban says, he literally told you he loved you. You chose to brush this off? You shouldn't have, because it was a red flag. He loves you and wants to get into your pants big time. He's being your friend because he thinks he can get into your pants that way. You are not being overdramatic, just oblivious to what this guy is doing. And OP replies, I only brushed it off because I thought that it was a silly drunk comment, and he was literally right on top of me, so I didn't want to make the whole thing even more awkward by mentioning it. Maybe I've been oblivious, but I didn't think anyone would say that when they're having sex with someone they didn't really know. Yeah, but he did say it, so you are being oblivious. You are absolutely right that no sane, well-adjusted person would ever dream of saying that in that situation. This, and the fact that he's literally stalking you outside your apartment, is what has me concerned for you. He is not behaving like sane people do. OP replies, okay, what would you suggest I do then? I have deleted him from Facebook and am planning on what to say when he talks to me. Say something like, I know you said you wanted to be friends, but it seems like you're hoping to be more, and I don't want to give you any false impressions. I meant it when I said that I wasn't interested, and I don't want to lead you on. If he insists that no, he just wants to be friends, then firmly shut him down and say, sorry, but it doesn't seem that way to me, and leave. The obvious hindsight answer is, but seriously, I think due to having sex and the fact he said he loves you probably means he's had a crush or adult equivalent on you for a while, then the sex happened, and he's probably been hit by the love bug / stalker bug, etc. If he is a normal human being, it will subside. If he isn't, which you've hinted is a possibility, I'd at the very least let a friend or someone know the situation, just to be on that safe side and then play it by ear. Hopefully it all dies down for you though. And OP replies, yes, hindsight is a great thing, but I have deleted him on Facebook now and hope it'll all just subside. I have told a couple of friends about it anyways, so if things get worse, they know. But honestly, I don't think he's that crazy. And now, onto the update. So I'm going to begin with the typical thanks for the advice, and for those who kept telling me, yes, I've learned my lesson about having sex with someone who I don't really know and can't really avoid. Anyway, onto the update on this situation. The first thing I did was delete and block him from Facebook, but that's the easy bit because I was still going to have to talk to him in person. I coincidentally ran into him on Monday. The first thing he said to me was, have you deleted your Facebook or something? Because I can't find you anywhere. So I went for it and gave a long speech about how he's a nice guy and I thought we could be friends, but I feel like I'm leading him on by hanging out together as I'm really not interested. He replied that he really does just want to be friends, and that it would be more awkward now if we're not. I just said something like, I don't want to give you the wrong impression, so I think it's best for now if we're not. And then I just quickly left before he could say anything else. I felt like a bit of a cow saying it, but I guess it needed to be said, and I'm glad I did it because he was overwhelming me slightly. So far it worked, and I haven't actually seen him since then, but it's only been like 2 days. However, last night I got a rambling long letter through my door. It came quite late, so I'm almost hoping he was drunk or something when he delivered it, because I think it's kind of effing weird, and also vaguely insulting. I think I'll type it out as it's difficult to explain the tone of the letter, so here it is. Dear OP, you didn't give me much of a chance to speak the other night, and there is more that I wanted to say, though this might actually be an easier way for me to explain my thoughts and feelings. I know we only had talked a few times before our tryst, but I felt like there was an obvious connection between us. I'm sure you must have felt it too, or I don't think you would have come home with me that night. I'm not the type of guy who sleeps with girls I don't really know, but I was extremely attracted to you, and when it appeared that you reciprocated my feelings, I couldn't help myself. When you told me you weren't interested in anything romantic, I understood, even if it was not what I wanted to hear. I don't know anything about your personal life. Part of the reason why I'm not usually interested in one-night stands, and so of course I realize why you might not be interested in me. However, I think it's strange you don't at least want to be friends. We shared a very intimate moment with each other, and you can't pretend that it never happened. It therefore seems only logical that we become friends. It only makes it more awkward if we aren't. I just want to say, if you feel embarrassed or worried that I think viewers slutty, don't be. I don't judge you. That would be a terrible double standard. Though be careful, because some men may see your behavior as slutty, especially if you refuse to talk to them after. Just like when a guy doesn't call a girl after they sleep together, he's seen as an asshole. Really, the point of me saying all this is just to repeat that I understand that you're not interested in a relationship with me, and I respect that. However, I'm just going to say it. I really like you. You're a fun, smart, and beautiful girl, and I would love to get to know you more. I don't think you can deny that we got along very well before that night, and I don't think what happened should change anything. Don't think that you're leading me on. I'm a grown guy, and I know that no means no, and can handle just being friends with you. But I respect what you said to me, even if it hurt a little, and will keep my distance from you for now. If you change your mind, and if you ever want to talk to me, or if you need anything, you know where I live, and I will always welcome you. That's what neighbors are for, right? I do feel a bit bad, because he obviously does like me, and has put a lot of emotional value on what happened between us, but I just don't feel like I can deal with someone as intense as him. Maybe it's just me, but I do think that his letter has confirmed that he is a bit odd, so I'm glad that I said what I said and was upfront with him. I think he will leave me alone now. He has so far, though I hope if we do see each other, we can be polite and it won't be too awkward. But it probably will. TLDR, I told him that I wasn't interested in being friends. He sent a long letter telling me his feelings, but I think he will leave me alone. In the comments, Unicorn No More says, "Ugh, this guy is way too heavy, way too attached after one night of sex. The whole letter is creepy. There was no need for him to write it." OP replies, "I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks it's creepy. When I was your age, I might have written a letter like that if I were in his situation. He wants something, and he thinks words can make that thing happen. Once I was his age, I realized that words are unlikely to change someone's mind. They're only likely to seem creepy. He should know better. I don't think there is anything you can do now. Interacting with him more will only make him think that he has a chance. He's a grown-ass 30-year-old man with the social grace of a middle schooler. We have to be friends now because we shared an intimate moment. This guy needs a dose of reality. Also, OP, after that letter, I would take some precaution. It scares me a little bit. Go with your gut feeling. Something tells me there's something not quite right with this guy. This is really what I find weird. He's 30 years old and he doesn't seem to get that a one-night stand doesn't equal friends and that his persistence is making it worse. I think he may be a little socially stunted." And now onto update 2. I was hopeful there would be no more updates to this because he managed to go for about a week without contacting me. I hadn't seen or heard from him for a few days, so I thought things were blowing over and he had gotten over it. Then yesterday afternoon, I was getting some stuff out of my car and I suddenly hear his voice say, "Hey, do you need a hand?" Of course, we were going to see each other again at some point, and I thought that I was polite with him by just saying, "Hey, no, I'm fine, thanks." I really didn't think this was rude, and I really didn't need any help anyway, but he seemed to get offended by it and started to get mad at me. He said something like, "What's your problem? I'm only trying to help you. All I've ever done is be nice to you, but you still act like a bear." I think he said more, but I was kind of shocked at how he reacted. He stormed off before I could say anything, but I don't even know what I would have said as I was a bit stunned and also totally embarrassed because there were people around who probably heard it all. I was also a bit upset because I know that he is allowed to feel a bit used or whatever, as he obviously liked me more than I liked him, but I do think this outburst was uncalled for. I have made my feelings clear to him now, and I know the truth hurts sometimes, but I don't think he has to take it out on me like this. This morning, I woke up to another letter. This one is quite short, so I'll type it out again. "Dear OP, I want to apologize for shouting at you earlier. I let my anger get the better of me, and I'm sorry about that, but I can't help but get frustrated at your behavior. I get that you're not interested in me, and that you don't want to be my friend, even if I do find it strange. I know you're aware of my feelings on this, so I won't repeat them. However, when someone is trying to help you, it is good manners to accept it, or, at the very least, be grateful. Again, I'm sorry, and I realize I need to think about the way I acted, and will try not to do it again. By the way, this is how adults deal with awkward situations. They don't pretend they never happened. I hope you accept my apology, and the little bit of advice that I gave you." Maybe I should be grateful he apologized, but I also think this letter is worse because he's not even trying to hide the insults and is totally patronizing. I don't know how to deal with him anymore. He seems to have gotten over his love for me, but now has some grudges against me. If he really thinks this is all about me, I don't even know why he even wants to talk to me and be friends. It must have been like a month since we had sex now anyway, so I don't know why he can't accept it and move on. I kind of want to talk to him again now, but I get the feeling that is what he wants me to do. Should I just ignore him and hope that he gets bored when he realizes I won't give him any attention? Or should I tell him again, more assertively, that I want him to leave me alone? I'm so effing stressed about seeing him again though because I don't know what he's going to be like. TLDR, he sent me another weird letter after I refused his help. I don't know what to do now. In the comments, Locke Raymono says, quote, "However, when someone is trying to help you, it's good manners to accept it or at the very least be grateful. Good manners would be not acting out and calling someone a bear. Quote, hey, no, I'm fine, thanks. That is grateful. You did fine, he's a creep. I would notify your landlord that he's making unsolicited advances, and you've asked him repeatedly to stop, and he hasn't. Otherwise, if it were me, I'd keep ignoring him. Become a black hole where you acknowledge nothing that he does, and when he speaks, writes, etc., ignore. How about when he says, by the way, this is how adults handle awkward situations, not by pretending that they didn't happen. Yeah, you know what else adults do? Leave people the hell alone when it's been made abundantly clear that's what they want. Blue Claw Crab says, save the letters, continue to ignore him. If he continues, you may have to get a restraining order. Accept that he is a nutso and have zero interaction. Agreed. I would also consider alerting the property management company and even seeing if you could move to another apartment to the other side of the complex until you fulfill your lease and can move away altogether. He's trying to get your attention in varying ways. Don't oblige. He does not deserve it with his attempts at manipulation. Yup, textbook nice guy. How dare you not reciprocate his friendship? How dare you not need his graciously offered assistance? How very dare you? What an effing creep. Funny thing about nice guys is that they're actually not very nice, as in OP's situation. They snap like he did, and most, if not all, are dishonest, manipulative, passive-aggressive, terrible listeners, full of rage, and always expect something in return. Agreed. The book No More Mr. Nice Guy gives a lot of insight on this. These guys do things to get things, because they believe that that's the way the world works. Creep Magnet checking in, my expert opinion, not really, is that he's trying to draw you in any way that he can, even if it's projecting some kind of imaginary behavior to you, accusing you of being rude. He is totally desperate. You shot down sex again, and friends, so now he is desperate. He might be over his love for you, but I sincerely doubt it. He probably exerts a great deal of time carefully planning each interaction and the best way to manipulate himself into your life somehow. In his mind, friends is only a short length away from sex. Guys like this are so scary. He currently has settled his plan on guilt. Even if you had said, yeah, a hand would be great thanks, he would have still written you a letter stating that good manners would be to invite him in for a thank you drink or a blowjob. You need to be very careful, and saying and doing nothing is the way to go. He's trying to push you to do, feel, and say what he wants. And now onto the third update. I had requests to update on what happened, so here it is. Hopefully it's the last one. Things have happened quite quickly since my last update. I was still kind of undecided whether to write to him to tell him to leave me alone, as this would give me proof if things went further, or to just ignore him. Anyway, I called my brother, who I didn't initially want to tell about all this, but I thought that I should probably tell someone in my family. He was totally adamant I shouldn't contact him, and I should call the cops if he continues, so I took his advice and decided to not communicate with my neighbor. I sort of regret telling my brother now because he really did not help the situation. I had been out on Friday night, and he stayed over at my friend's house, so I didn't get back until Saturday morning. I came back wearing what I had been out in, so to my neighbor, it probably looked like I'd spent the night with a guy, so this may have made him a bit more angry. He was in the hallway when I got back. I'm totally sure that he had been waiting for me, and said to me, "I don't appreciate getting threatening messages from your brother." I honestly had no idea what he was talking about, so I said that, and I found out that my brother had sent him some kind of threatening message telling him to leave me alone. He then was saying stuff like, "Why can't you tell me this yourself? Why can't you at least talk to me? I just don't understand you." I responded something like, "I'm sorry about the messages. I didn't know that he sent them, but I have told you I don't want you to contact me, yet you keep sending me those letters, and I think he was just worried about me." This is when he got pretty angry and was saying stuff like, "What are you worried about?" and how he had just been trying to be nice. Yeah, he actually said it. He pretty much just repeated what he said in the letters, but it was the first real time he actually scared me a little. I didn't really know what to do, but then he called me an SLUT to my face, and I was like, F this, I'm not listening to you anymore, leave me alone, and went straight to my apartment. As I was walking away, he tried to backtrack and apologize, but I didn't want to give him any more attention, so I ignored him. The first thing I did after this was talk to my brother again because I was kind of annoyed at him for getting involved, and I wanted to find out exactly what he said. So he got his Facebook from one of my friends and sent him this message. "You need to leave my sister alone. You are creeping her out. If you don't, there will be consequences." So I guess it does sound a little threatening, but this is not as bad as I thought it might have been. Even though I was worried that my brother's message might have been seen as provocation, I decided that I was going to call the police. I waited until the next day because I was tired and it had gotten a bit late after talking to my brother. I shouldn't have been surprised that I woke up to another letter. I think he loves having the last word. It's not very long, so I'll type it out again. Dear OP, I'm sorry for some of the things that I said to you yesterday. I didn't mean them, but the heat of the moment got to me. I did feel threatened by what your brother said to me. All I've tried to do is talk to the person that I live next door to after I had sex with them. You've made it pretty clear that you were not interested in me, and I have accepted that. However, I have explained to you multiple times that I find it strange that you don't want to talk, so I think you could be more understanding to my feelings instead of just labeling me a creep. I think we need to talk like adults, in person, because I feel so frustrated that you don't understand what I've tried to say to you in my letters, and the only way to do it now is face to face. I won't let my anger get the better of me like it has previously, and surely you must see that this is a better idea than getting your brother to send me messages. There is no way I was going to talk to him in person again, as the last 2 times we spoke, he just got angry with me and called me a slur and a bitch. I want the whole situation over now, so I called the police. It was the non-emergency thing, and they were actually very helpful. I was prepared for them not to care, and they asked me to go to the station, and I had to show them all the stuff that he sent me, the letters and Facebook messages, etc. They filed a report, and originally they offered to call him, but when I told them that I didn't have his number, they said they would go and talk to him. I just want to make this clear for those who responded to me before, saying going to the cops was too far. This isn't a restraining order. He hasn't been charged or anything. All I've done is file a police report, and we have both agreed to not contact each other, and if either one of us contacts each other, then it will go further. I was sort of expecting him to send another letter after this, but he hasn't. I know it's only been a couple of days, but I do feel better about the situation now. I'm going to stay here for now. I might talk to my landlord, but I don't think that he would let me break my lease. If I feel like I don't want to stay, I think my brother would help me out with money. I do feel bad about what happened, and of course I should never have had sex with him. The number one lesson I have learned is don't sleep with your neighbor. But if anyone reading this finds themselves in a similar situation, I guess my advice is trust your instinct and go talk to the cops because they can be helpful, and it doesn't mean that they're going to start arresting people. Anyway, thanks for all the advice. It was appreciated. TLDR, my brother messaged him without my knowledge. He then confronted me and got real angry. Decided to call to talk to the cops. We have agreed to go no contact with each other. In the comments, I am not your mother says, I'd also suggest saying something to your landlord about this. Perhaps let them know that you filed a police report because this guy was harassing you. Wouldn't hurt to have them simply be aware just in case you end up needing to break your lease over it. I'm a property manager, and I definitely want to know if something like this was going on. No landlord should blame someone for wanting to break their lease over it. It is also possible that this guy's lease will be up for renewal soon, and the landlord could skip renewing his. Zoe Pantalone says, quote, "Number one lesson I've learned is don't sleep with your neighbor. I'm glad you're doing something about this, but I'm going to reiterate that you, and anyone else in this situation, have done nothing wrong. People can sleep with other people. People can no longer want to talk to other people. How you choose to react to that is on you. He should have listened to you when you told him not to contact you the first time." I agree the weirdo gets 100% of the blame for this mess, but I do think it pays to be more careful than normal when sleeping with neighbors. In this imperfect world, some people are going to be creeps, but if they don't live near you, it's a lot easier to get out of the situation. I agree. I'm personally fond of the golden rule. I just don't want her takeaway to be that this is all her fault. Creeps are everywhere. And now onto the final update. What a mess this all turned into, but I really do think this is all over now, and so I thought that I would do a quick final update. Initially, I was thinking I would just try to stick out living there until my lease ended, but on the encouragement of some of the replies on my last post, I decided to talk to my landlord. He was not really very understanding and was like, "You shouldn't have slept with him," which I guess is true. He said there is nothing he can do now, but if I wanted to break the lease, I could, but it would cost me 2 months' rent as a termination fee, and I have to give 60 days notice, though he did say to let him know if anything else happens. So I left it, but I was living in constant anxiety of seeing him or that he would just do something else. Then I talked to my brother again, and he told me that my neighbor had been messaging him saying shit like, "How does it feel to know that your little sister is a slut?" and other sexual stuff. I wasn't really sure if I could go to the police again with this because he wasn't directly contacting me, but I realized I didn't want to stay anymore. My brother agreed to help me come up with the money, so I thought that that would be that, and I could get away. Then maybe a couple days later, I ran into my neighbor. It probably was just a coincidence. It was going to happen at some point. The weird thing was he was being super friendly and asked how I was, etc., and didn't mention any of the stuff that had happened. I found it almost creepier than when he was being aggressive, and I told him that he was supposed to be leaving me alone, and I wanted him to stop contacting my brother. He said something like, "I thought we had moved past all that." This is when I seriously began to think that there is something really wrong with him, and I just told him again to leave me alone. Then, surprise, he sent me another letter. I can't find it right now, but it basically said that there was no need to contact the police before, and I hope you aren't thinking about doing it again, but the tone of it was kind of threatening. I went to the police again, and things got a lot more serious this time. I got a temporary injunction against him, then there was a hearing, and I got a final injunction, restraining order. Because of this, I was able to break my lease without the termination fee, with only 30 days' notice. I stayed with a friend for a couple of weeks, but this week I have moved into a new place, and finally feel that I can move on from all of this. Thanks for all the advice on here. It sure gave me the confidence to go to the cops. TLDR, he didn't leave me alone. Had to get a restraining order and have moved into a new place. In the comments, quote, "I'm a grown guy and I know that no means no." Turns out that was a big dumb lie. When I read "I know that no means no," my eyes threatened to roll right out of my skull. Dude doesn't grasp that consent doesn't just apply to sex, and that he's not owed being heard or spoken to. If someone tells you that they don't want to interact at all, the correct response is to not interact at all. Not persistently demand that they take in your explanations and apologies for repeated bad behavior, including refusal to respect boundaries and give you a shot. Sometimes the first impression is the only one that you get, and the way adults handle it is to accept that and move on, not whine and slip creepy effing unsolicited communiques under people's doors. The thing about long apology letters from people who have been told "leave me alone" is that they think they have your attention for the time it takes to read the letter, so they keep sending them. I hope OP's neighbor realizes she doesn't owe him that. I once got this long-ass email from a person like this. I deleted it without reading more than a sentence. Now, years after, I sometimes wonder what was in it, but at the time, it was the best decision I could have made. I was a nervous wreck after just seeing an email from this person. I got an email from my abusive dad last night, and instead of deleting it, I read it. To be honest, I was giggling and enjoying his whining and misery, because after everything he put me through, he sure earned that horrible life that he's living, but still set off the nightmares, like it does any time I hear from him, and now I'm scared to go to sleep tonight, like a total grown-up. My family tells me I'm much better about it these days though. I can actually have a conversation about him with another family member. For years after I escaped from him, I'd go into hysterical panics at the mere mention of him or anything about him. And it never effing stops, y'all. I'm way older than OP, and I have a whole avoid my neighbor routine when I come and go from home. He's not someone I've slept with, nor ever will, but can't tell him that. I tried being clear and polite, gently rebuff and keep it light, etc., and he got rude and huffy. Is it a coincidence that nails and metal shards keep winding up in my tires? I've had them patched up 4 times since I've lived here, and he definitely lurks the parking lots. I don't even want to know. Just waiting for the lease to run out so I can move. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.